We would be nowhere without our title sponsor here at the 618 High School Huddle, and that is, of course, Chick-fil-A out of Fairview Heights. When you think of good food and high school sports, Chick-fil-A is the first thing to come to mind. Think about the O'Fallon Shootout, the Highland Shootout, the great Bevel East tournament that is held every year, and lots of great events. Go to a football game and see what you find there. You're going to find Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A in Fairview Heights, 6203 North Illinois Street, right there in the heart of Fairview Heights. Guess what? It's Sunday night. They're not open. They care about their family. And speaking of families, the first family of prep sports in this area, in my opinion, is the Holmes family. 3 Division I athletes coming out of that family. Pretty special deal. Dave's always been very generous with his time and everything at Chick-fil-A, and we really appreciate him being the title sponsor of the 618 High School Huddle.
Good.
A little bit of a stumble there at the end.
One-time world's heavyweight champion Danny Pounder's here. And when the Pound Man puts his name on something, you know it's the very best. So anytime you see that 618 High School Huddle scroll across your marquee, just remember, you're listening to the #1 podcast in all the world.
Welcome to the 618 High School Huddle, hosted by Jim Thompson, Scott Warren, and AJ Thompson. And as you just heard, we are proud to announce that this is the #1 podcast in all the land.
No, it's not.
Shut up, man. It sounds better when I say it this way. The #1 podcast in all the land.
Nope, not even close.
Shut up, man. The #1 podcast is the 618 High School Huddle, and here we go.
Not even in the top 100,000.
It's Sunday night. It is time for another edition of the 618 High School Huddle, episode 32, maybe?
I believe so.
Wow. Those numbers become, I remember when we got to 10, I thought, that's pretty significant. Then we got to 20, I thought, that's kind of significant. Now we're at 32. We could do the math, but we'll hit 100 probably before the end of basketball.
Yeah.
Which would be cool. We'll have to celebrate.
Have a party.
At Hopskeller. Before we get into our topics for tonight, let's go ahead and give a quick plug to our intentions. October the 30th, we are going to do our first live podcast. Now, when I say live, is it really live?
Yes, it is very much live.
So we're going to be broadcasting live. People can go on to Spreaker.com and listen.
Well, if you want it to be, people could go on Twitter and listen to it.
However, I don't care.
Yeah,
But
we
so
can do that.
we're gonna find a way, and we're gonna be live.
Well,
you
we
can
have
follow.
already. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
yeah,
whether it's
it will.
Twitter, or Spreaker. Okay.
Yes.
So we're gonna be live Wednesday night. We're gonna shoot for 7:30. I have a regional regional volleyball game to attend.
No excuses.
Hey man,
No excuses.
it's easy when the foot's on the other shoe. With
Right,
you
because
now.
I heard all the nonsense for all the years.
And nobody ever complained because you and I weren't on the air at the time. But I can't help that I have to be Marissa. You know, once you get to playoffs, every game could be my daughter's last. I would hope it's not in the first round of the regionals for a team that just played so well in Freeburg. But you never know. But that game's at 5:30. Got to feel like I'll be out of there by 6:30. Puts me back in Waterloo by 7 or 7:15. We'll get the thing rolling. You'll be set up. We'll be ready to go. I'm going to come in kind of like a rock star would.
Well, I mean, time is still to be decided because
Oh.
I have to work with Matt. So we're just trying to figure it out. But it will be, like you said, it will be after 7:30.
Oh, okay, that's fine. But I want to come in like a rock star.
Well, I mean, I
want to arrive, walk in. I want to park the crowd,
Yeah.
preferably without using any verbal cues. I just want to do this.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be very difficult.
And I would like an escort of some sort, like a chair on
Right, yeah.
sticks, like the Last Emperor. And I'd like to be escorted to my area where I'll be broadcasting from, and then sat down gently and then fanned, of course, during the course of the broadcast.
Yeah, kind of like an Egyptian king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just carried in on a.
Yeah.
We'll work on that.
Yeah, we'll get on
All right, so that's what we're shooting for. But anyway, we'll be at Hopskeller on October the 30th, which is Devil's Night. I don't know if you knew that. October 30th is Devil's Night.
It's also buffet night at Hopskiller, Matt tells me.
Well, I think Devil's Night is much more significant. That's the night that they burn Detroit down every year.
That's right.
Although now every day is
Well,
Devil's Night in
right.
Detroit. But it used to be like in the 70s and 80s, Colin, literally this was a thing. There would be hundreds of fires intentionally set in Detroit on Devil's
In
Night.
downtown, yeah.
It was, what's that movie where people can commit crimes at night?
The Purge.
The Purge. It was
yeah.
The Purge, before The Purge was The Purge. And literally, yeah, go out and do your research, but look it up online. Look up Devil's Night in Detroit. I mean, in the 70s and 80s, and even I think the early 90s, it was absolutely a free-for-all.
Yeah.
Now there's nothing left to burn. The roof is not on fire anymore.
Because it collapsed.
It collapsed. But anyway, it's Devil's Night, and we're going to celebrate Devil's Night by eating some pizza off of a buffet, which I think is, for me, about as good as it gets.
Yeah.
And we may or may not sample some of the local products
Sure. You almost have to.
because, I mean, we're there to promote Hopskeller.
Yes.
So let's remember.
What a better way to do it than that.
Well, I'm telling you. So we're looking very forward to that, and we'll talk more about it. I've got a couple of. I got one secret in mind. I've already reached out to the person. I will say this: we talked about Friday night on the tailgate. You threw out the name Storm and Norman. Here's what I'm going to tell you: it is not Norm Sanders.
Okay.
I'm going to leave it at that. But it is somebody else. So, and we're hoping to have Scott Horner, maybe some other coaches. You think we'll be able to do Skype by then?
I mean, yeah, we can.
Yeah, it's just something to think about. Like if the playoff pairings come out Saturday night.
Right.
Now, we also need to talk about this. We can do it off the air, or we can do it on the air because it seems like we share everything with everybody. Do we want to do a playoff show set next Saturday? Oh, I can't. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Done.
Right.
It's Oktoberfest. Yeah, so forget it. But anyway, it'll be the Wednesday night before the first round playoff games, and if let's say we can get Jim Steibel to join us from Mater Dei. How do we do that? He's not going to drive down here from Breeze.
The only problem with that specifically would be you guys being able to hear him, because we'd have to have headphones for everyone.
Right.
So if we can figure that out, I can get him on.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about it. But in any case, we're looking very forward to it. We'll be at Hopskeller. It's going to be an exciting time. Friday night, also an exciting time.
Okay. Depending your definition of exciting.
Well, I think I don't have one.
Okay.
We were at Edwardsville High School. We pulled up there. We were actually running. I was worried. We were running a little bit behind. And the good news is we were the first ones there.
And the last.
Well, we're frequently the last ones there because we're cleaning up our stuff. And
Right.
so that's not unusual. Mm-hmm. But we were the only ones there. That was unusual. They don't tailgate in Edwardsville. It's not allowed.
I'd like to know why it's not allowed.
I think we know why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's I'm sure it's a district that's concerned about, their image and alcohol. I mean, when you hear tailgate, when you say, man, I'm tailgating before the game, that doesn't mean that you're holding hands and doing a prayer circle.
No.
All right, let's be honest.
Right.
I mean, I think we kind of, if anything, we pulled the curtain back a little bit at Mater Dei.
But again, we were at City Park.
But the point is, I don't really care where it is, right? Whether it's Rochester, Mater Dei, Waterloo, is it really that big a deal? Do we have to get this excited? Like, when's the last time you heard about a big fight happening at a tailgate? That's not the way it works. These are usually parents of students, typically parents of players. It is a community fellowship type of thing, and there's usually just loads of food involved. Yeah. And if somebody's got a little something in their tumbler, are we going to get excited?
I'm not.
Okay, well, yeah.
I mean, for context, we were playing Montclair. We had to play up at Valmeyer High School this summer because we couldn't play in the bottoms. Well, you know how post-game in Montclair goes. They had to step off of the baseball field right there, off that property, and go somewhere else to drink.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and you may not know the answer. Did they do that as a precaution or because somebody told them to?
They were apparently told to. Again, that's the information that was conveyed to me, and it didn't really matter to me.
And I'm guessing that there might have been some truth to that, but, you know, there are, I'll give you this example. A lot of Montclair games against the St. Louis Spikes are played at Fox High School.
Yeah.
I can assure you no such rules apply. Now, it is in Missouri, right? And it's also, is it an actual, it's probably a district rule. It says no alcohol on the premises. It also says no tobacco on the premises. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Did anybody use smokeless tobacco during the course of that doubleheader at Valmeyer?
10%. Yes, absolutely.
All right, so you guys broke district policy.
Yeah, sure.
So why is alcohol different?
Smokeless tobacco does not make you lose that frame of mind, the normal frame of mind. Alcohol, you would do things that you wouldn't normally do. That's the best explanation I have for it.
But it's a banned substance.
Right, yes.
Right? Just like cigarettes are, cigars. Yeah. It's a little silly if you ask me. I didn't know you guys played any games at Valmeyer High School.
We played a lot of them with the National
Guards of the flooding?
in left field. Yep.
Wow.
Hung out with them and talked to them. It was a good time, actually.
But so then let me ask you this: where the Waterloo Millers play?
Yeah.
Not a high school.
That's a weird one, though. Because I don't actually think I've ever understood who owns that. I think SBPS does.
The church does, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not a community park, yet it is used for overflow for the Waterloo Sports Association practices.
Yep.
It is the home field for the Jabot Hawks.
Yep.
And it is also the home field for the Waterloo Millers. And I can assure you, if there's a law against alcohol at that park,
yeah,
I'm going to jail. I'm just telling you, because that's where as you get older, if you stay in this league, you're going to find out that's one of the great places to hang out after a game.
Yeah, it is.
Even Vern sits around after a game and has a beer every 500-600 years.
I'm stunned to learn that it floods in Valmeyer. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's weird. So let me tell you a little story. Back in 1990, never mind.
Okay.
That's weird to me. And that is a weird one. And I don't want to stir up any trouble. Like, I don't want the police to come and mess with the Waterloo Millers or anybody that plays there, but It's just weird. And I'm sure there's probably open container rules at Citizens Park in Belleville, at Whitey Herzog Field. I don't know.
Well, and I think we can say one of two things happened. Either there was an incident like at Edwardsville, or they're trying to prevent one. So
right, and the thing is that it's a self-contained complex.
Beautiful.
It's a gorgeous complex. We've got baseball, soccer, and blah blah blah. Softball,
football field.
We figured the track's got to be somewhere, although we couldn't find it.
Yeah. Track's not around the football field.
They just got a whole other track, probably.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
swimming
right.
complex, wrestling complex.
Yeah.
Crazy. So it is what it is. But we did not know any of that. Thank goodness when we got there, Mr. Kaburk pulled up right next to us. He's a father of one of the seniors. Mm-hmm. And we had a great talk with him before we went on the air, or before we did our show. I got to quit saying on the air. That sounds so silly.
It is what it is.
Yeah. And he said, there's not going to be any party. Sorry. Now, we still have a party.
Of course.
It was just me and Scott, but it's kind of the way it goes.
The two of us in a lot of parked cars.
A lot of parked cars. But I think for me, the highlight of the night, it definitely wasn't the football game.
No.
The weather was nice.
It was okay.
It got a little chilly, but not bad. A little breezy at times. Highlight of the night was the interview with Drake Westcott. Mm-hmm. We had a blast talking to him. You know, what a together kid. And I know you've talked to him. You were actually the first person on our network to reach out to him. But to see him in person, you know, he just looks like a baseball player. Mm-hmm. Hair slick, kind of combed back, and, you know, he's got the chains on. But then, you know, we asked him point blank, what round is it going to take to get you to forego Louisville? And just like it was printed on a postcard or a note card, I just have no idea. We're just going to have to take that one day at a time, and, you know, God willing, we'll do our best. If you've ever seen Bull Durham, that's, I mean,
stereotypical.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm just going to do what I can do to help the team.
I'm just happy to be here.
Just happy to be here. Right. It was great. Yeah. And I said to him, I said, you know, you've been well coached when it comes to media matters. Signed his first autograph when he was a freshman.
There's also, I feel like, though, for him, if he says, like, oh, I would take this draft spot. I feel
it messes everything up.
Yeah, you can't put yourself.
Sure it does.
Yeah, you can't put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
Right.
But it also pigeonholes you a little bit with the Major League draft.
Yes, doesn't do you any good to commit one way or the other.
Yes.
It was a great visit, and you'll hear the episode. It'll sound a little silly because we were promoting a home run derby that already happened. Mm-hmm. By all accounts, extremely successful. He actually hit 5 bombs. They got him to do a 2-minute exhibition, and he hit 5 out. Which is kind of cool, and he wore the jersey with the name of the family that he was playing, that he raised the money for, the Ward family from Jerseyville. It's really, really cool. So that was fun. Then we went over and watched. I believe we watched the football game.
Might have been, maybe, kind of.
Now these are the 2 biggest classes in the state of Illinois, 7A and 8A respectively. Just throwing this out there for fun. And everybody gets sick of me saying this, but you quit listening if you want. Rochester against either of those teams.
Oh, it's a game.
I think it's definitely a game. I would argue that because neither team seemed to stop the run particularly well, I don't know if they're stopping Rochester. Now, you got the huge size advantage, right? They've got 270-pound linemen.
Right, you do have that.
But, and this is not a knock on the teams, because I don't think the teams could ever get into a flow.
Mm-hmm. No.
There was a penalty on every other play, and in some cases 2, and in many cases back-to-back. Matthew Camp, who's the longtime kind of legendary writer for the Edwardsville Intelligencer, was talking to us, and he's really gotten on board with our show, and I really like talking to him. Very sharp guy, and he thought it was the most trash-filled game he had seen, and I happen to agree.
And oh, by the way, let's get one thing out in the open, because you and I talked about this stuff too. Edwardsville, call your stats in. Thank you.
I'll tell you what, when we come back, let's touch on that briefly, which will lead me right into topic number 2. And believe me, before we get done with this, we've also got another story, maybe not necessarily high school sports related, it's going to blow your mind. You've been listening to the 618 High School Huddle, hosted by BigRedWorld.org. Proud sponsor since day one of the 618 High School Huddle, Mandy McGuire with Keller Williams Realty Group. The Mandy McGuire Group, nobody in the area does it better. If you're looking to sell a home, if you're looking to buy a home, Mandy has all the answers. She has the best professionals. Nobody's more engaged than she is throughout the entire process. One of our co-hosts, Scott, has personal experience with that. She sold his home in 24 hours. And that's the guarantee she'll give. All right, no, she won't do that. She can't sell a house in 24 hours, but she can come close. She's just almost that good. Mandy McGuire Realty, movewithmandy.com. Nobody in the area is better in the real estate game.
Perfect.
28 years I've been involved in amateur baseball. At the Legion level, the youth level from 9U all the way up through 15, 16U. I've never met anybody quite like Mark Clark. Mark Clark with 21 baseball, former professional baseball player, started getting scouted when he was in 7th grade. You think he hasn't seen a few things, know a few stories? One of the things that Mark's learned over a long career is that you don't have to pay $5,000 to get great baseball instruction. The professionals at 21 baseball do it like nobody else. They're not going to tell you that little Johnny is fantastic if little Johnny's not fantastic. If you're looking for honest, hard-working, good professional help with your baseball swing or with pitching, give Mark Clark a call, and he'll set you up with a lesson. He'll do a free evaluation, and if he thinks you're a good fit, he'll put you in. Call Mark Clark at 314-583-3302. 21 baseball. Nobody does it better.
Perfect. I need you to do one more.
On the off chance, now we trust Colin, I do. I don't trust him with my life.
Well, that'd be silly.
He's 20. But he's going to try to plug in little music clips like as we come in and as we leave.
That's cool.
But on the off chance that he doesn't, Can you identify that?
I can. I wonder if anybody in the audience can.
What do you think? You think you can hear that?
I mean, I can hear it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That would be the unmistakable vocals of Sully Erna, a self-described witch.
Yeah.
He practices witchcraft, allegedly. He's the lead singer of one of our favorite bands, Godsmack, and we are headed over to the Family Arena, where the last time we were there to see Godsmack, we met a clown.
I shared that picture, by the way. Did you see it?
I didn't get it yet.
I put it out there.
On Twitter?
Uh-huh.
On your Twitter or on ours?
Both.
Oh, it's there? So, we'll tell a story very briefly. We don't want to take up a whole lot of show time, but we saw this dude walking around, and
I called him Shakes the Clown, by the way.
We got a picture taken with him, the one I guess you put out there.
Yeah.
And I put my hand on his back. You know, you put your arm around somebody.
Yeah, we both had our hand around. He was in the middle of us, and we both had our hand around his back.
It was like he was being electrocuted. He was shaking so bad. I don't know if he was on meth, if dude's got a disorder.
It was freaky.
But it was really bizarre. And then he got called up on stage, and it just, the whole thing.
Because it was about this time of the year.
It was
and
almost,
some people were dressed up, and he just happened to be.
It probably was about the. We'd have to go. Well, you could look at when that picture was taken.
Yeah,
but
it
anyway,
was just in a goofy, goofy.
Was it about 4 years, 3 or 4 years ago?
No, it was just, I think it was like 7.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. As we wrapped up the first segment, we were talking about everything that is memorable about our trip to Edwardsville, and so of the 42-minute show that we did, we're going to share with you probably 10 minutes or 12. I don't know what the actual interview is of this guy right here. Think it's there?
I hope.
Because otherwise we're going to look really stupid.
Really dumb.
Drake Westcott joined us and was a real breath of fresh air. Being in this for a while, you get kind of, typically with high school athletes, you get a lot of nerves. I remember seeing Noah Frederking interviewed in the locker room by Norm Sanders. That tells you that Norm was still at the News Democrat. Norm would do, remember Norm's Center?
Yeah.
Anyway, Norm would interview players in the locker room after a big game.
I tried to forget, but
and he interviews Noah. Now, this is a brilliant young man. Noah's brilliant, and obviously one of the great players in the history of our area. And he gives him this. Yeah, I was able to get my shot. Yeah, we feel like we're pretty good. Yeah, the game. We were. Yeah. And and I love the kid. I've known him since he was a baby. But typically, high school athletes are a little shook in one-to-one interviews like that. Not
used to it.
Not Mr. Westcott.
No, he's been doing this for a while.
Because he's been doing it for a long time. And we get into, you'll hear in the interview, we get into where he's kind of at right now. Some of the amazing accomplishments, finishing second in state as a freshman and then winning it as a junior, and the pressure that may or may not come with that for this year. So I'm kind of excited for you guys to hear it. Wish we'd have had video, but we both forgot. There was nothing video worthy that happened after that interview, but we should have at least gotten a picture with Drake, but we didn't. But anyway, check that out. Edwardsville wins that game by a couple of touchdowns. By everything we see, looks like they're going to end up 7-2, which should secure them a decent seed, maybe a 5 or a 6. We'll see what happens.
O'Fallon's out now.
O'Fallon is definitely out. Also Friday night, not far from where we were at, Belleville West, who's having a miserable season, but I have a weird tie-in to what's happened to them. They've won their last 2 football games.
Yeah.
And what seems to have made the transition is they've gone to a sophomore quarterback. This sophomore quarterback, the year that AJ played football, I wish AJ was here because I don't think he even knows this, was the quarterback on that football team when AJ was 10 or 11. His name is Alex Petker. He is a sophomore at Belleville West, and he has lit a fire under this Belleville West team, brought them back last week and led them to a victory, and then this week knocks Alton out of the playoffs. with an excellent performance.
So was he a Waterloo kid and moved, or?
No, he's always lived in Millstop.
Okay.
But Millstop doesn't have youth football.
Right, so they come to Waterloo, Columbia, or whatever.
And so the head football coach of that 10, and football's different, but I want to say this kid is 2 years younger than AJ. Right. But AJ, because he was little, kind of played down, and this kid played up, so they sort of met in the middle. And I remember, the kid was talented, but his uncle was the head coach, and then his dad was the offensive coordinator. And this kid was slinging passes at 11. I mean, slinging it. Good baseball player, and but anyway, it's good to see some success from him. And apparently he's lit a little fire there. Puts an end to Alton's season. Not the season, excuse me, but their playoff hopes. Also in the Southwest Conference, I think this stuns. Well, I think this stuns everybody. East St. Louis won.
Really, I'm shocked.
Well, that's not the stunning part. That's got to be some sort. They
scored 52 points.
Yeah.
In the first quarter. 7 touchdowns. In the first quarter.
By 6 different players.
6 different players. Or was it 8 touchdowns by 6 different players? It was, 7, sorry. Because 8 times 6 is 48. It was 8 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns in the first quarter by 6 different players. Antonio Johnson had 2 and Tyler Macon had 2.
That's got to be some sort of school record. If not, I don't know, maybe it's a state record. I don't know, we'd have to have someone do the research. Because,
well, I think we know a guy.
We might. But 52 points in the first quarter, I mean, that's almost impossible when you think about change of possession
unless the other team hands the ball to you, which maybe they did.
Well, 5 turnovers, we saw.
Yeah, 5 turnovers, and so perhaps I got nothing. It's an unbelievable achievement. Coach Sunkett did what he's done all year. He yanked his starters. By all accounts, in the second quarter, he yanked them.
Well, even for them, that's an unbelievable achievement.
And it's crazy. I got a chance to see East St. Louis's game against Edwardsville. It was actually being played today on Channel 11.
Really?
So it was like the high school game of the week, even though it was 3 weeks old. I don't know who's running that show. How about giving us a game from this past Friday?
Right.
You people. But I got to see that game, and that was a game that I believe at halftime or close to halftime was like 14-12.
We were at Mascoutah that night, and we were following on Twitter. It was 27-21 with about 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and I think Edwardsville turned the ball over, and Eastside got a couple late touchdowns.
Right. So that's when we started to think, well, maybe Edwardsville's pretty legit.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what Edwardsville has. They have a very good running back in Justin Johnson Jr.
Yeah.
Outstanding running back, big, strong kid, great speed. There's an Epinesa, excuse me, plays inside linebacker, also is the place kicker. And then we got to hear that there's another Epinesa coming in 7th grade who is actually on track to be bigger than AJ. That's frightening. And we saw some video of him.
It is, and it'll be, and we heard some things about maybe different personalities and things. So,
right.
Size is one thing, but attitude is another big part of it. So we'll see in a couple years where we're at.
And a big part of AJ's game is attitude. He, I would never refer to it as a mean streak. I don't think AJ has a mean streak. AJ...
We got a motor.
Has a motor. He's got really high motor and does not like to lose.
Yeah, like a J.J. Watt. He's got a motor.
Absolutely. Yeah, you wouldn't say that J.J. Watt has a mean streak.
No.
If anything, he's got a heart of gold. But anyway, it's going to be fun to see what happens. So we went from a week ago saying the Southwest Conference might have 4 teams make the playoffs. It's going to be 2. And it's guaranteed now because 6 is... 5 is the number to get you an at-large berth. 6 you're in.
Yeah, 6 is.
So Edwardsville's 6-2. East St. Louis is 8-0. If you're wondering about the point spread for East St. Louis, they have scored 382 points this year, and they've allowed 99.
An average of 47-12.
Do you guys want to hear the records on scoring?
I sure do.
All right. Now, this is most points in a game. But I think that just by looking at this, you can safely assume that they're never going to touch these records. Most points in a single game. Do you want to guess what that record is?
220.
Wait a minute, by one team?
Yeah. Oh, by a team in a game. One game.
Yeah, 220.
Wait a minute, what year are we talking about?
It's old. Early 1900s.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still going to go. No, go ahead.
I'll say 110.
I'm going to go 166.
You shouldn't have second guessed yourself.
223.
223 to nothing.
Who did that?
Staunton versus Gillespie.
I've got the box score.
Do you, Robert?
That's who sent it to me. Robert Mason, who we haven't talked about on this show yet, is sort of a statistician to the stars in the state of Illinois. He heard us talk. We talked about this on the radio, and he heard it, and he mailed me the box score. I have to find it. I have a feeling I know where I put it.
Right.
But
so what year was that, Colin?
1923.
Okay, 23. I was going to say 30. Okay. More records. Let's hear it.
You want me to just go down the list?
Until we get tired of it.
Okay.
I'm bored. Let's move
2.
on. No, I'm kidding.
Number 2 is 185 to nothing. The funny thing is, all these games are obviously...
Okay. No. Do they have records for points in a quarter? Because 220, right? 223.
Averages out to 50 a quarter. More than that.
No, it's more than that. It's really more like 60. It's like
55.
55. East St. Louis put up 52 in one quarter against Bevel East. My question, or our question is that a record?
Probably not, given that.
They don't have it listed. They don't break it down by quarter.
But you know, in 223, that might have been 100 points in the first quarter. So
I don't know how you do that.
I don't. You know.
My goodness.
And you know, the timekeeping was different then. The clock was manual.
Yeah.
And it had an arm on it.
Well, but again, here the important thing to recognize about this entire list on the leaderboards. Only 2 of these scores come after 1925.
Right.
Yeah.
3 of these.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with such a disparity in talent, coaching, training. They may not even have the same amount of players.
No, back then you probably didn't have subs.
Staunton might have had 21 kids.
Right, and had to play all their starters.
And the other team might have had 9. And they just said, yeah, we'll still play. I mean, that doesn't matter who has the more kids.
Right.
So we'll just play with 9.
Okay, and lose by 200 points.
That'd be okay. So there you go. My goodness, what an embarrassment. Who was it that they beat?
They beat Gillespie.
Gillespie, the Miners, who went on to be they have some pretty good runs in football.
Yeah.
And I was going to say I thought I was frozen out. In the Mississippi Valley Conference, chaos continues to reign supreme, to say the least. Did you see the touchdown? And Colin, hopefully you'll be able to find it and put it up here. It was a part of the helicopter highlights on Fox 2. And I would guess that right after we saw them at Edwardsville, we saw them up in the air, we were worried they were going to run out of gas because they were actually filming, looking for something to happen other than a penalty flag.
Yeah.
And
they were there for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Without moving.
Yeah.
And of course they didn't see anything. But I'm guessing from there, they went to either Triad or Civic, wherever that game was played, and they got video of a touchdown that looks pretty shaky. Now, it's tough to see. You don't know the angle. First, I don't know that it looks like the kid broke the plane.
We tweeted it on.
Right. Don O'Brien, if you check out Don O'Brien, DOB, and his great observations out there, good buddy. I really like Don. We met him at a shootout. But Don O'Brien tweeted out there, and he said there's no way that was a touchdown. He was at the game. Mm-hmm. It looks like the kid fails to break the plane, and then he fumbles, and Triad recovers. It's ruled on the field a touchdown for Civic, which provides...
New teeth in one day, by the way.
Yeah, I already have plenty.
Okay.
It provides the difference in the game for Civic Memorial as they get a 21-20 victory at home over Triad. So, Triad went from being this invincible being now to they're surely not invincible. Civic Memorial and Triad are both tied at the top of the Mississippi Valley. If they do it like they do other sports, they will be co-champions depending on how.
No, they won't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Civic won the league at 4-1. Excuse me. So congratulations to Civic Memorial, our team of the week.
Highland's here at 4-1 also, so it just depends on how that shakes out.
Well,
who beat who?
Well, we'll find out. That's a good question. Although I don't think there's something weird with that conference, and I don't think head-to-head matters. Oh, we know that Highland blew out Civic.
Oh, that's right.
That was that 64-28 deal.
So if you're finished at the same record,
Then your coach
head-to-head
champs.
really doesn't matter?
Yeah, I have to ask Coach Vogel about
All
that,
right.
but I think that's kind of the deal.
So they're co-champs.
I think so.
Okay.
We'll do some research on that, but anyway,
boy,
hats
oh
off.
boy.
Now, here's the deal. We said there would probably be 4 playoff teams, and it looks like there are going to clearly be 4. Civic is in, Triad is in, Highland at 5-3, and Mascoutah at 5-3 are probably both in.
And they're going to win next week, we think.
We think they're both going to win
they'll
next
get
week.
six wins.
And you also have to remember, Mascoutah, one of their losses was to Columbia.
Correct.
Well, that's 9 wins added to their total.
Right.
So they're going to have plenty of points.
Yeah.
And they're also going to pick up all of these wins, which is 12, 22, 23, 24, 25 going into that week, 25, and 9 is 34. They're there.
Yeah, they're
easily.
and they're not going to lose next week, I don't think.
No, I wouldn't think so either. The only 2 teams that aren't going to make it will be Jerseyville and Waterloo at 2-6 and 1-7.
Well, 4 teams from a 6-team conference is pretty darn good.
Yeah. How we doing on time?
Good.
All right. Let's move on then and take a look at the Cahokia Conference, because this is a conference that's been up in the air all season long. We don't know who was going to win this conference. It's so close.
Pins and needles.
And yeah, we are all on pins and needles here. Columbia finally gets a scare this week and only wins 48-0. That makes 1, 2, 3, 4 shutouts
And two
One-
other games under 10
and-
points, and one at 10.
in single digits, and then 1 at 10. And then, of course, Breeze exposed the Columbia defense by scoring 18.
Unfortunately, they gave up 56.
Oh, so that's a bad thing?
That's not very good.
More records being broken. You want to talk about calling off the dogs. Take a look at this box score. You get Donovan Bieber. He gets in the end zone a couple of times. This one, yeah, I'm a little questioning on that one. But looks like definitely in the fourth quarter you had subs in. Bieber goes 7 carries for 129 yards and 3 touchdowns. All in the first half. Probably didn't see much of the field the second half.
No.
Nick Horner, kind of a tough day for him as he's only 6 for 7 for 86 yards. Oh, but he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The numbers that this team puts up is nuts. And
Slow day at the office.
they wrap up their season at Jerseyville. No reason to think anything but
Does anyone else make it from that conference or no?
I don't think
I
so.
don't
We're
think
going to
so,
pull it
right.
up right now. I don't see any way that they
And,
can.
same thing.
Well, no, Salem.
Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, they're 6-2.
Yeah, Salem is 6-2, so they're in. Now, here's
Whoa.
here's the really cool thing about this conference, and I know we crack on it a little bit. Columbia's 8-0, Salem's 6-2. Breeze Central, Freeburg, and Redbud are all 4-4. That means if all of them win this week, they're probably getting in because of the win numbers.
It's going to be close.
Well, let's see.
And also depending on what happens up north with the strike.
Which we'll get to in the next segment. We've got about 1 minute. Let's real quick look at who their opponents are. Okay, so never mind.
It's all going to be
Breeze
non-conference.
Central's going to win. They're playing Heron. I think we have it on good authority that Heron's probably not very good. Give me a countdown of 15 when I get to it. Redbud, they will play Sparta. I'd say Redbud is in.
Correct. Or at
And-
least going to qualify. They'll have to have the points.
I think they're going to have the points. And then Freeburg, ooh, they have to go to Effingham, undefeated, state ranked. I'm going to say right now, the Cahokia Conference gets 4 schools in. Redbud, Central, Columbia, and Salem. When we come back, we're going to get into some other stories. You're listening to the 618 and watching the 618 High School Huddle, hosted by BigRedWorld.org. You know, if you're selling your house, or if you're buying a house, or if you just live in your house, which is what I do, and you see water all of a sudden in your basement ruining your things, there's only one number to call, and that's 1-800-966-2379. The professionals at B-Dry Basement Waterproofing and Foundation Repair do it better than anybody else in the area. Yes, there are other companies you can call. but nobody has the ethics and the business morals that Mark Cooper and the gang over at B-Dry do in Highland, Illinois. And nobody supports prep sports at all like B-Dry does. Go to any local event. Again, the Highland Shootout, one of the great events in our area, you'll see B-Dry Solutions very present there. So it was a natural fit for B-Dry Solutions and us. BDrySolutions.com. Check them out on the web. Foundation repair, piering, anchoring, waterproofing. They'll also put in a pool. If I get enough people to like this, I might actually be able to afford one someday. Give B-Dry a call.
Perfect. Those are good.
Welcome back to the 618 High School Huddle hosted by BigRedWorld.org. As we move forward towards the IHSA playoffs, and we've kind of talked about where things are from a conference standpoint, it's going to be interesting. We've got one really big sort of albatross looming over the entire process, and that's the Chicago teacher strike.
Day 4.
They are in day 4. They have lost 2 days of classes.
Our computer froze.
All right.
And we're back.
All right. We're in day 4. They've lost 2 days of classes. It looks like Monday, which is tomorrow, already canceled. And what the IHSA has said, they've given a drop-dead date to the Chicago Public Schools and said that you have to be in school by Monday, October the 28th, or none of your teams will be able to participate in the football playoffs. Now, this is key because there's a team we know that they played a lot of their games early to avoid the strike. And there was that team we looked up, that little bitty school, that got the victory and is now 3-5.
Right.
Going into, and they're obviously going to forfeit next week, most likely. And they're going to end up probably 3-6, but they won their division of their conference and they get an automatic berth. And from Tim O'Brien, the longtime reporter from up there, he's really pretty sure that it's the first time a 3-win team is going to go to the state playoffs in football in the state of Illinois. Now, all of this could be completely a moot point if the strike lingers through this week and goes into next week, the following week. All those schools will be eliminated, and that includes Chicago Phillips, a legendary school that always makes the playoffs, has won a couple of state titles. This year they're competing in 6A. Technically they're a 4A school. They're playing up almost 2 classes, and it's going to be chaos.
It really is.
But the IHSA will get it figured out, and we'll all be happy.
Okay.
Well,
I'm glad you said that.
Well, you seem like you're not convinced.
I'm glad you said that. That makes me feel good.
We're gonna be fine.
Okay.
We're gonna be fine. So we'll see how that affects things. If you think the IHSA is having a bad week, let me introduce you to the Missouri State High School Athletic Association. Worst week ever. Let's start with the nonsense at Roosevelt High School in the St. Louis Public League. Roosevelt High School, kind of a resurgent team, got to the playoffs last year. Head coach has done all kinds of fundraising. By all accounts, just an amazing human being. And rebuilt some of the bleachers so they could actually host a playoff game. And about 3 weeks ago, he was removed.
I don't even think it was that long ago.
Well, I think now it is.
Yeah.
Now it is.
Okay.
From when they wrote
He
the
was
article.
removed from his team. Nothing was done.
Right.
He just disappeared. Not disappeared like in a mafia sense, like he didn't get concrete shoes, but he disappeared.
He was still posting on Twitter and all that regularly too.
They just said you're not to come on school property.
Which is so weird to me because his kids saw so highly of him. It's bizarre.
And the parents.
Right, but they're all going to be on social media watching your coach post on social media, and yet you don't know what's going on. That's bizarre to me.
And obviously, because we're cynical, the first thing that comes to your mind when this happens, well, he did something either he shouldn't, he got his hand in the cookie jar, or something worse.
Yeah, there's just something there that
They don't want. They have, and while they investigate, you're out of the picture.
Which, given the story that will come up later in this segment, it's reasonable that you would have that thought.
Yeah, except the investigation for that one only took about six minutes.
Sure, yeah.
So then this week, like Monday or Tuesday, one of the assistant coaches is removed. And he disappears off the face of the earth. Not mafia style, like with concrete shoes, but he's gone. Well, it turns out the violation that they committed was, they've been fired now, by the way. They were connected to their players via social media.
How dare they?
Well, it's a policy in the St. Louis Public School District that any district employee is not allowed to be connected via social media or text with any students.
Not feasible in 2019.
I think it's feasible in 1973. Like, none of my coaches were connected to me via social media. None of them.
Yeah. Well, it didn't exist.
What are you saying?
You're old.
Yeah,
Well, that's
exactly
hard.
what I'm saying.
Well, now you're being ageist.
Well, Scott said it. Technically, I did.
Well, you're both being
I
ageist,
implied
and
it.
you thought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I think about going back even 10 years ago when I kind of started that latest baseball team that I had. That's the only way I communicated with parents and kids.
Right.
And then I thought it was so cool when the kids got to about 14 and they had their own phones. I'm like, finally, I don't have to go through crazy mom A and crazy dad B. I can go straight to the kid,
Well,
who probably
even-
has more common sense than the parents.
Most times, but even the flexibility that you have to sit there. Okay, a thunderstorm pops up in the afternoon. Hey guys, no practice tonight. Boom, gone. You don't have to make 10 calls, or there's no phone tree like we used to have, and all
Right.
that kind. And somewhere along the line, it gets disconnected, and half the team shows up, and this, that, and the other. So yeah,
We're wearing white tonight.
right.
Don't forget senior night's coming up. Whatever.
Yeah, right.
I just don't get it. It's obvious they wanted him out of there. My guess is, here's what happens, and then this may be unpopular. That's very unusual for me. When coaches or teachers become too popular with the students and the parents, typically administrators get nervous.
Yeah.
And they get nervous because it challenges their authority. It really does. They're like, oh, wait a minute. These people really idolize this guy. They really love him. We better back off just a little bit. Let's just put him in check. Because there's very few people that have bigger egos than some of those people that run the public school board.
So, are you saying that across the board? Because we've had coaches that have had very long and distinguished careers. I mean, but you're just saying more
Like
times.
who?
More times than not. Well, Dennis Reeder, for example.
I was going to say that was a pretty good one because, and part of that was he was also a teacher, so he had that side of it. But
Paul Lusk, Gary Mauser. I mean, we could.
Well,
Brad Weathers.
those all beloved by their players.
Right.
Beloved.
Sure.
Most of the players that are successful under Dennis Reeder, Paul Lusk, Gary Mauser, Brad Weathers, keep naming them, right? Most of their successful players would run through a brick wall for him and would say, this guy made me the man I am today.
I would also say that Dennis Reeder was many times used as a fear tactic by teachers to get kids to either show up to class or do their homework or stuff like that. It benefited teachers more to have that
Good cop, bad
fear
cop.
and beloved nature with your coach.
But so the point is there's a level of respect there. Now, if Dennis wanted to use that for those powers for bad, he could probably do it. And that's what I think the fear was over here. This guy at Roosevelt became so popular so quickly. He did everything right. The kids idolized him.
There you go.
Thanks for coming.
I don't see any way, and I don't care. They can hide behind this. We have a policy gimmick all they want. There's no way that the St. Louis Public School District looks good here. No way.
No, and at the end of the day, as we've said so many times, now Roosevelt went on and won their first game without their coach. He was in attendance, which I think is awesome.
Sat in the bleachers he reconstructed.
Right, the bleachers he built, it's perfect. But, the guy seems like a solid human being, and I just think it's a really, really disgusting situation.
And I think somebody will waste no time giving him another opportunity.
Right.
I would agree with that.
Honestly, it sounds like an athletic director right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, good point. So we have another story that also broke this week over in Missouri. Maybe just a slightly more bizarre version of that nonsense. We talked about this last week, but Cardinal Ritter College Prep Academy, which is CRCP for those of you scoring at home, head coach Brandon Gregory and his entire staff was fired. The athletic director retired. And we're also going to cancel the season.
Well, the last one doesn't surprise me. I mean, if you lose an entire coaching staff, what do you like? How do you get?
You figure it out. I mean, there's kids on this team that are totally innocent. Find a way.
You could bring up
JV somebody.
Coaches.
Well, no, they were all gone.
Oh, never.
They fired the whole staff.
Yeah.
Oh, including underclass.
Oh, yeah, you're all gone.
But
yeah.
the irony of it, how is this not on
varsity
this? How is this not on the school? Like,
Oh, it totally
you look
is.
out there and
Completely.
you see a kid as number 24, was it?
Completely.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Different name.
Where did this freshman come from?
So go ahead and give the little background on what they.
Yeah. So what happened is in the state championship game at the end of the 2018 season, they, as we have said many times on the show, Cardinal Ritter won the state championship. And why is the computer?
No, scroll down.
But I did, and there's nothing.
No, you gotta just.
Oh, I have to. Oh, hang on
Yeah,
a second,
yeah.
Colin. We have to answer.
We have to take a survey.
What kind of smartphone do you own and primarily use?
None of the above.
Well, I use an Apple iPhone. I don't mind. I'll tell them that.
Is this the Post Dispatch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
Just so I can read an article, and I get it. Do we have to answer all of them?
No, hit show me a different question. Usually takes you right to the article.
I usually only have to answer one.
There you go.
Here we go. So in essence, here's what happens. Junior running back, who at the time was a sophomore, Bill Jackson, was ejected from the game for unsportsmanlike conduct. Now, whether that was a second unsportsmanlike conduct or what, it doesn't matter. He's kicked out. Misha rules stipulate that if you are kicked out of a football game, you must miss the next regularly scheduled game. Yeah. Well, the state championship happens to be the last game of the year. The first available game he would have missed would have been the first game this year, which was against Nazareth Academy, an IHSA school that, by the way, does everything right. And no offense, but they play up in Chicago, week 1, so it's like August 25th or whatever. They pound Nazareth. They didn't pound them, but they beat Nazareth Academy, a school 4 or 5 times bigger than them. And Bill Jackson is supposed to sit out that game. And the good news is he did.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, Bill Jackson.
Bill Jackson did not play.
Did not play. Instead, the same kid, Bill Jackson, put on number 24's uniform, played under a different name, but what they forgot to do is laser off his tattoos.
Yeah.
He has very distinct tattoos on his right bicep. Mm-hmm. There is a picture posted from that game in the Chicago Sun-Times and the Tribune. And here you see this big tattoo that clearly belongs to Bill Jackson. And you see that the kid's wearing number 24. Mm-hmm. The following week, they're playing at the Gateway Scholars Classic, and Bill Jackson is wearing number 4.
Yeah.
And he's listed in the program as Bill Jackson.
His regular number.
His regular number. Same tattoo. I think this is all part of a deal to make 23 Jump Street.
Interesting theory.
That's a good
because
theory.
22 Jump Street was all about the Zook tattoo, right? They're just copying off of that. And I think that Hollywood's filming a movie. We're all part of it.
This is just so.
All you had to do was wear an arm sleeve, honestly.
Right, you wear an arm sleeve and this probably doesn't happen.
Well,
it's still dirty as crap.
Well,
I mean, it was in Chicago. No one from the
that's exactly right. That's what they thought. We're going to be 250 miles away. No one's going to know. And oh, by the way, he led the team through a pregame ritual as number 24 and did the same thing. And there's video of it. And he did the same thing. He does the same thing the following week as number 4. Brilliant.
The level. Do you remember the name of our first podcast?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I believe it was Stop the Buffoonery or something.
Might have been.
Something along those lines. Can you look that up while we're...
First episode of this show?
This show?
Yeah.
It was not.
Well, okay,
what was it called?
Eliminate the Ding Dong.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
close enough.
Right.
I knew it was something.
So guess what the name of this show is going to be?
Eliminate the Ding Dong Part 2.
Right.
Part D. I want it to be French.
Yeah.
Brandon Gregory, you know better. And then you go on...
No, apparently he doesn't.
Well, he goes on Channel 5.
That
and it's
was
like,
my favorite
I don't...
part.
You know what? I don't know
Embarrasses
why
himself.
everybody's... everybody wants to focus on the negative. This... I'm about to launch into another character.
Well,
I have to be careful, though.
here we
Here's
go.
my fear, though.
I'm going to introduce it in the next segment.
Here we go.
My fear, though, is that if this kid is as good as they're saying,
What's
he
that?
probably just lost a lot. Really?
Well, he's sitting out 6 games next year, so he's lost most of that season too.
And I mean, but like,
You think Miami will take him?
I think somebody will take a flyer on
Think
him. But,
Florida State would take him?
but here's the thing. I don't know these guys good. I don't know anything about.
I
the
don't
kid.
either.
But here's the thing. Shame on the coach. Shame on the assistant coaches. Shame on the AD. Shame on the parents.
I also say shame on the other players.
To a certain degree, I think that's fair.
All right. You were a senior
Yeah.
at one point.
Yeah.
Based on your hairline, it was 35 years ago.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And let's say that, totally hypothetically, Coach Scare comes to you and says, listen, Joe Smith is supposed to sit out this next game. He's our catcher. I'm going to put him in a different uniform. We're going to make it big so it's kind of floppy.
I'm gonna put a wig on him.
Whatever. We're going to wear sleeves. Just let you know. Would you say something?
Honestly, probably not.
Okay. I appreciate the honesty.
Sure.
First of all, I appreciate the honesty.
Well, now let me ask you this: would you lose respect for your coach for trying to do that?
100%. Because
Would you tell your parents?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would it become talk?
Talk around school, probably. See, here's the thing. I think about that, though, and this is more specific to me, but we were a smaller community school, so if something like that was happening, everyone knew.
So is Cardinal River.
Well,
It's a Catholic school with about 400 kids,
it's about the,
right?
about the same.
And it's the Archdiocese, by the way, that really brought down the hammer here.
Well, and here's the other thing, speaking from unfortunate experience, I would have gladly done anything I could have to play, even if I had to sit out games. So then a coach, an adult, telling a kid, like, not stopping him from using that desire to play, I don't feel like that's on the kid or on the team at all. You want your teammates on the field with you. You want them playing with you. And if the adult in the room doesn't say, you're not playing, I mean, you're talking about a, 16, 17-year-old kid here?
Well, as a senior, though, if you're a senior on this team, you obviously know that this kid's in a wrong uniform. He's being listed illegally in the program.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way,
Do you not have enough moral integrity to say something to the coach?
And you know the consequences
To the
if you
coach,
get caught.
That's a different story. Because if I could easily see me having a sit-down conversation with Scare and being like, why are we doing this? Like, why is this?
And the fact is, Andy would never do it.
No, right.
And I honestly, I don't know any coaches that would do this.
Because it doesn't make sense.
It's
That one game, how much is it going to cost you?
Right.
Versus now you.
What are the
lost
pros and
entire
cons?
Season.
well,
What
it
are the
costs them
pros and
everything.
cons? It costs them everything.
And especially that early, like.
And the kids knew exactly what would happen if they got caught.
Not a chance. That I disagree with.
Yeah.
I don't think the kids knew.
I would have had no clue what the repercussions.
Scott, did you know what the IHSA was when you were playing in high school?
Let me put it this way.
Answer my question.
Let me put it this way. The kids knew there would be a penalty.
No.
Yeah.
Not
Right,
a chance.
yeah.
Again, I coming from,
Using an ineligible player?
All right. But who knows what he told them,
Agreed.
right? He might have told them, hey, we got a letter. Guess what? There's going to be a ruling, And so Bill needs to play with a different number this week. They're not going to look.
Boy,
at the
that doesn't
program.
sound shady at all.
Hey, this guy led you to the promised land.
You know what, though? There was an easier way to have gotten around that rule. Put him in a different sport in the fall. He serves a suspension.
Yeah, let him run cross country.
Yep.
And as soon
Well,
as,
wait a minute though. But then you can't. At least in Illinois.
Yeah.
No, football and cross country at the same time.
Oh, I'm not talking about cross country. I'm just saying there are spring sports that you probably could have put him in.
Oh, but they already blew that.
yeah,
Right, but it
Spring's
just
already
would've
over.
been-
Yeah,
right,
they
right.
He could have joined the. Although I
could've-
don't think so. I think Misha. No, I don't think that would have done it. This was. You got to remember, this was not a Okay, you're aware. 10 seconds.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to share some more thoughts on this situation and wrap things up for the 618 High School Huddle hosted by Big Red World. Got an interesting question at Modern Day. One of the moms said, "Hey, how can we see this? How can we hear this?" It's very, very simple. Wherever you download podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, or if you want to go straight to our platform, Spreaker.com, just look up 618 High School Huddle. Give us a follow, give us a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. That way, every time we drop a new episode or we do something new, you'll get a notification if you choose to turn them on. Also, Twitter. We're pretty big on Twitter. That's for Scott and I. That's our big thing. It is at HS Huddle 618. At HS Huddle 618. Instagram, same thing. HS Huddle 618. And also, you can like us and follow us on Facebook. You'll get all the new notifications and all the same stuff. Follow us on social media. Help a couple of 53-year-olds figure this thing out. We want likes, we need followers, and we need retweets. Thank you very much.
All right, perfect.